We've got this article about Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really about how he's using his platform and his, I guess you could say, celebrity.
Yeah.
To really kind of shift the conversation around race. And it's really interesting because he's kind of going against the grain.
I think he always has, in a way.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to just say what he thinks.
No.
And I think that's why people are drawn to him.
Definitely. And, I think the article really captures that.
Yeah.
Just that kind of like straight talking, no nonsense style. And it's refreshing.
Yeah. Especially these days.
Especially these days when, everything feels so polarized and the media is, people just don't trust the media as much as they used to.
Right.
And so I think, when you have someone like Morgan Freeman, who's so respected, and he's obviously known for his incredible acting career, but he's also, he's become this kind of cultural commentator.
Yeah.
Especially on issues of race and representation.
Right.
And I think people really listen to him.
I think so too. And it makes you wonder too, like,
Yeah.
is he almost sidestepping the media in a way?
It's possible. I mean, he
Okay.
has that power,
Yeah.
He has that platform where he can kind of go directly to the people
Yeah.
and bypass those traditional media narratives.
And speaking of those narratives,
Yeah.
like his views on race are so interesting because they really do.
They're provocative.
They're very provocative.
And that famous quote of his from the 2006 60 Minutes interview,
Yeah.
where he said, "The way to end racism is to stop talking about it."
I remember that.
That really sparked a lot of debate.
It did. And it's like, what did he mean by that?
Well, yeah, I mean, is he advocating for like a colorblind approach, or
Right.
is there something more to it?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely more nuanced than just ignoring race. If you look at his comments in context,
Yeah.
it seems like what he's really doing is pushing back against this idea that we need to constantly focus on racial differences.
Okay.
And he's saying, like,
Yeah.
that actually hinders progress
Right.
towards unity and equality.
So it's almost like a distraction.
It is a distraction.
Yeah.
He sees it as a distraction from addressing the real issues.
The real issues that are affecting everyone.
Exactly.
Regardless of race.
Regardless of race, exactly.
That's interesting.
And that perspective, kind of informs his whole critique of terms like
Yeah,
African American or Black History Month.
Right.
He believes that these labels, while,
Yeah.
maybe well-intentioned,
Yeah.
can actually be counterproductive.
I remember that quote where he said,
Yeah.
what does it mean? Most black folks in this part of the world are mixed.
Yeah.
Africa is a continent, not a country.
Yeah. He's challenging the whole foundation of
Yeah.
these labels.
Powerful stuff.
It is. And he's saying,
Yeah.
like these labels, they oversimplify complex histories and they kind of reinforce a sense of separateness rather than belonging.
Right.
He sees Black history as an integral part of American history,
Yeah.
not something that should be,
Separate.
segregated or compartmentalized.
Right. And it made me think of that interview he did with Don Lemon
Oh, yeah.
back in 2014,
Oh, it's a good one.
where Lemon was trying to connect wealth inequality to race, and Freeman just shut it down.
He did.
And it was so interesting.
Well, Lemon asked him, like,
Yeah.
is there a genetic component to poverty? And Freeman just flatly said, no, you can't say that.
Wow.
And then he went on to say, success is determined by upbringing and environment,
Right.
not predetermined by race.
Yeah.
So it was a direct challenge to this idea that...
Your race is your destiny.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think what's so interesting about Freeman's approach
Yeah.
is that he doesn't get all like, riled up.
And he's not like a firebrand.
Yeah, he's so calm.
He's calm. He's measured. He uses logic,
Yes.
personal experience to make his points.
Right. And I think that makes it even more impactful.
Absolutely.
Because he's not, trying to preach.
No,
He's just presenting a perspective.
it's a different way of looking at things.
And it's hard to argue with.
It is hard to argue with, and he even points out in that interview, you know how Lemon tries to move the conversation away from race
Oh, really?
after Freeman calls him out on it?
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like he recognizes what's happening.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what can we as like media consumers?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah, like what can we take away from Morgan Freeman's approach?
I think the key takeaway is critical thinking.
Okay.
We need to question the narratives that we're being fed, examine the assumptions behind those narratives,
Right.
be willing to consider alternative perspectives.
It's so easy to just get caught up
It is. It's so easy.
in the headlines.
Especially now when,
Yeah.
everyone's competing for your attention.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful.
And I think Morgan Freeman's example really reminds us
It does.
that we need to dig deeper,
Yeah.
think for ourselves, and
Absolutely.
engage in these like more meaningful dialogues.
And remember that these conversations about race and representation,
Yeah,
they're complex.
they are.
There's no easy answer.
Right.
And it's so important to be open to hearing different viewpoints, even if they challenge our own beliefs.
I think that's a great place to end it. Like, this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
Definitely.
What would happen if we all kind of adopted a bit of Morgan Freeman's approach?
That's the question, isn't it?
How would that change our conversations about race and equality?
It's a question worth pondering for sure.
It is.
And, it's a reminder that even in this rapidly evolving media landscape,
Yeah,
individual voices can still have a profound impact.
I think that's true. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's inspired you to continue exploring these important topics. And we'll see you next time.